Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. It is a beautiful day in the New York area as we're sitting here. Kathy, what's it like by you?
It's great here too.
Yeah, all right. It's spring. The sun is out. We're in positive frame of mind. We want to make your life that much better. And she can help you do that. She is a spiritual life coach, also a master Reiki healer. She knows everything about energy healing. Kathy D. Carter joins us. Kathy, it's great to have you back. How's everything?
Everything's wonderful. Not sure I know everything about energy though.
You know a lot more than me, and that's and I know, decent amount. I'm here, you're like over here, you're out of the screen. One thing we're going to talk about today, and I know you have some background in helping people with this, is addictions. And yes, you'd be amazed when you start talking to people how many are dealing with it, have dealt with it, have it come back to them when they, I don't want to use a cliche, least expect it. Something will trigger an addiction. Where do we begin here?
Well, I think we begin by teaching society what addictions really are. And from where I come from in the energy standpoint is lots of people that become addicted. And of course, we always think of drugs or alcohol or whatever when we say addicted, but that's not all. There's lots of other ways people are addicted. But the thing that is so important is what I find is that a lot of these people that are addicted actually have tremendous spiritual gifts, metaphysical gifts. They're empaths. And not that it's an excuse, but one of the reasons that they got led down the addiction path was because they were so overwhelmed with emotions, so overwhelmed with feelings, they didn't know what to do with it all. And an empath really finds themselves in that situation if they don't know they're an empath and what that means. So it is an escape from feeling. And what people don't really understand is that's what the whole experience on earth is about, is learning feeling. It's knowing your emotions, because without the emotions, we don't learn. We can never get back to love. We can never get back to source. I mean, a lot of people believe today that we are a piece of source and we're working our way back to source, united, hopefully, but we've all lost our way. And one of the ways that people do that is you stay out of body, your spiritual, your energetic soul comes into this earth experience, and we get given the human transport system so that we appear physical. We forget that our energy soul, if it doesn't stay grounded in this human transport system, it won't function correctly. So when an empath that doesn't know they're an empath, doesn't know what that means, and they're feeling all these emotions, even as a little one, they're seeking some way to relieve that pressure, because in a lot of ways, they feel all of this, but they're also an empath, so they can pick up that other people aren't feeling the same way they are. So they think something's wrong with them. And they're constantly overwhelmed with all this input. So alcohol and drugs numbs that down and you don't have to feel it.
Damn, you're good. I'm serious. And I would love to hug you right now, because I know in my journey, I've met some people, and even in the last year, and they have addiction issues, maybe from the past. Just what you said, and I didn't connect it, but they are those people. They're even in their line of work, nursing. There's your empath. And somebody else who um, is so caring, but it's probably to the point where they can't deal with it and they had alcohol issues from the past. Um, but here's what I do find, and you're probably going to agree, but I want to throw it out there. Those people that have those addiction issues also have other addiction issues, and it could be addiction to people. It could be, they can't control it for reasons that you just disclosed, which I have never even picked up on, but they'll reach for other things, whatever it might be. It could be the simplest thing. It could be addicted to ice cream, whatever. It's always reaching. We don't want to reach back to, let's say, alcohol or substance abuse, because they know that's bad, but every once in a while, and it's probably, at least my observation, maybe not probably, it's because they still can't deal with what you just said in terms of having those very strong feelings for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you can be addicted to rescuing people, because empaths especially become people pleasers because they can read everybody. So as a child, they will put themselves in the middle of a parent situation, knowing that this one's getting ready to aggravate this one and this is coming. So they will intercede to try to keep peace. Well, without ever being taught why they know all of this, we go downhill.
Mm.
There's no other place to go because it becomes too overwhelming. And for empaths especially, it's hard. You can't really turn that gift off. That is a gift that is with you 24/7.
Can you do this, Kathy? Can you define empath?
Sure. I'll make a stab at it, because there's many different qualities of an empath. So one empath's not going to be the same as another empath, because there are tremendous different qualities within being an empath. So an empath is someone who has I call it a spiritual gift, a metaphysical gift, to feel what someone else feels. Like, I could tell if the person talking to me is actually lying. They're telling me a different story than what they're feeling in their body. You can tell when someone's really sick. Even some empaths they can pick up on sickness or pain. They can tell that this person, even though they've got the physical form hiding it, an empath could say, oh, they've got great pain in their body they're dealing with, be it physical, be it emotional, mental, whatever it is. An empath, that's the best way of describing it in the big picture, is they feel what other people feel.
Well, we should say empath is short for empathetic.
Yes.
Right. And that's, somebody who feels for somebody else, whether it's on a spiritual level or not. And it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody who's an empath is extremely spiritual. They're just plugged into other people, right? But from what you're saying, with those that are dealing with addiction, because of their empath qualities, they're picking up on a lot more, and they're dealing with so much. It's not an excuse, but it makes it understandable for some people.
And that's where compassion needs to come in, because in years to come, if the earth is still here, people's going to look back on us and how we treated addiction as very barbaric, as very uncivilized. Just like we look back on the cannibals and say, wow, how could anybody ever do that?
Yep.
Well, they're going to look back on us and say, how could you ever lock up an addict, keep them from their drug of use, make them detox, and expect them to be rational and say, oh, I want to come clean. Of course, they're going to say that because they've learned how to manipulate people and they know what to say. But our society is so messed up on, we don't know how to help them. I think that's our biggest problem. And we're caught in a cycle of locking them up, which isn't helping them. And I'm sorry, but I'm yet to see a rehab center that actually works.
And it's not necessarily their fault. we put it on them, and not necessarily do they not want to stop. Maybe, yes, I want to stop, but they can't because they're dealing with so much, and they don't know how to deal with it, and they're not given the tools. So let's look at it that way. How do you
Mhm.
how do you help somebody who has or is dealing with addiction, who is an empath, who may be spiritual, that bears the burden of everybody's feelings on them, and then they turn to addiction? How do you help that person?
It depends on how far in they are, because I'm not qualified to take on a
Sure.
full-blown addict. And I would always refer those out. But one of the biggest things that helps with someone that, I guess the way I would describe it is, that's not 100% under the control of the drug they're using. So if they still have a little bit of distance there, just explaining to them, oh my, you have metaphysical gifts. Let me explain to you what that means. I'm picking up that you're an empath. An empath can feel everybody else's feelings and emotions. Literally, you can feel the shooting that took place in Las Vegas while you're here in Texas. If you're that type of empath, let me explain to you why you're feeling so much and how to deal with that and not feel so much, know where it belongs and leave it there, instead of taking it into your energy field and trying to process it, when that's way too much for anybody.
How do you shut it off, though? You're programmed, you're wired that way.
You learn to manage your energy field. So what I mean by that is, you learn to say, oh, and this takes practice, and it takes some help and some guidance and some tools, because you start to feel something, and you say, okay, wait, is that mine, or am I feeling something from the outside? So first you have to learn to be able to do that. Then you have to, for example, once you pick up on other people's stuff, and you walk in a room and this person's got a headache over here, instead of you taking that headache on, and literally some empaths can feel it in their body, you want to say, whoa, thank you, gift. I understand they have a headache, and I'm thankful for that information, but we're leaving that energy over there with them. And see, that's what, no one knows to do that until they're taught how to do that. And that's what,
again, they might not even realize what they're doing.
Mhm. And they don't. And that's what creates the snowball effect, because the more they feel, the less they can deal with it. And they're going to find something to dampen that, all of those emotions and all of that feeling. And one of the things I always do with people is, because everyone tends to get a superiority deal about, well, I don't have any addictions. Anyone that tells me that, oh, they're just game. I love it. Because I would dare anyone, there's a few on the planet, don't get me wrong, few thousand, no doubt, but I would dare anyone to give up white refined sugar for a week. They can't do it. It's in everything. I dare them to give up their phone for a whole week.
But would you say,
People are addicted.
no, I hear what you're saying loud and clear, but would you say that those are people that are also dealing with, are empaths, and are turning, could be a phone, could be that. Is it, when we're talking lower level addiction, so
Okay.
to speak?
Okay, so in the grand scheme of things, not everyone that has an addiction has the spiritual gifts or the metaphysical gifts.
Right.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying the hardcore addicted ones, there's a high percentage of them that do.
Gotcha.
So in respect to people that's addicted to their phone or their white refined sugar, or be it whatever, shopping, I mean, there's so many things. They are using that addiction to escape feeling.
Hmm.
They're using that addiction to even the person that's always busy, can't
Absolutely.
still. They're addicted to staying busy so they won't feel. I call it diversion techniques too.
Hmm.
So for the ordinary person, diversion techniques are things we do to keep from feeling our emotions, because to be on the healing path means you learn to feel, you learn to know your emotions inside and out, you know your shadow side as well as your light side, and you have explored everything and you know yourself.
And there's a big difference, and for another day, the difference between emotions and feelings, because the emotions can be a very short-lived thing. The feelings will live on. If you can squelch this before it gets too deep into this, if that makes sense, I feel that you're in a good place. And with what you're saying, those people that turn to other things, they may be empaths, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they have spiritual ability, and call it psychic, whatever. They're just very caring, warm, loving, want to take care of things, want to help people. I got to help you. I'm here. I'm here. And that's a burden in itself. That's, that I hate to use it as an excuse for addiction, but I get it.
And most of those people that want to be a rescuer, they're out helping everybody else, is because they don't want to look at themselves.
Right.
Now, here's the difference. A healed person that wants to help someone does not go interject themselves into people's lives without being asked. You'll find a lot of people, and they usually have metaphysical gifts. They're out there trying to help heal others without being asked. They're not asked to come in and help. My point is, that's one of the ways that they stay busy. They're always finding somebody, oh, let me help you with that. I know how to make you feel better. Person didn't ask for that. Person may not be ready for it. Person may not want it. And here's the other part that you were referring to, the emotions and the feelings. What I believe today, which can change at any moment, I always want to preface everything I say with that. Because on the healing path, we change lots of our inner moral code. We change lots of our thinking. Lots of things change. Emotions and feelings. Emotions come from how we think about an incident, how we think about what happened. Feelings are a result of the emotion. Here's the key, though, that people don't understand about the healing path. If you have a lot of stored emotion in your energy field, you're going to get triggered often, because that is the working of the human body as to how we learn to heal. Because that stored emotion needs healed. You following me? And without
totally.
And without healing this stored emotion that got stored as a victim, survivor, traumatic events, whatever took place, without knowing how to feel it, heal it, release it out of your energy field, it stays there. When an incident, it can be as simple as the red hat that Aunt Sue wore when she slapped you every time she saw you by yourself. The red hat triggers that emotion, which creates you reacting differently to this lady with the red hat than if you hadn't had that stored emotion.
So, and I'm on board with everything you just said, without a doubt. How do you heal that? How do you, that stored emotion, your bucket of emotion could be so full. How do you empty it?
By dedicating yourself to healing. And that's what so many people are attempting to do. And there's not, unfortunately, one of the methods out there that is so prevalent is, that's in the past. Your dad beaten when he was a kid, so he beat you, but you need to forgive him because he didn't know any better. And you need to forgive his dad for beating him. You need to forgive him, and you need to let that go because that's in the past and just move on. It doesn't work that way. It's not the way our bodies work, because that stored emotion is still in your energy field, and you skipped, is what I call it. You skipped one of the major healing steps.
I'm listening. Go.
So,
No.
as I talked in a previous episode with you, that's where the anger room comes in. Because the anger room is what allows someone to start releasing that stored emotion. And lots of people, so many will say, I'm not an angry person. I don't have any stored anger, but they do. They have learned how to repress it even more. They have learned new diversion techniques. I call them diversion techniques, so that they do access that anger, but they don't think they do. Now they'll be the first one and they love it. They become addicted. Get this, they become addicted to the power of their stored emotion. This is huge. It happens everywhere because they think they are righteous and entitled, and it is their purpose in life, if they get in an argument with someone and they're right, to prove they're right. And they will get louder. They may, it can end in a screaming fight, but usually they're dominant and they'll, this is the way it is and blah, blah, blah. They are addicted to the power of their stored emotion. Another way of being addicted.
And sometimes that anger, stored emotion, can turn into something else called sadness. And that takes us down a whole different road. I'll share with you in just a couple of seconds. With my childhood, and it all kind of begins there, and you just gave an example of a father situation, no abuse or anything like that in my life, but there was things that went on. I got hypnotized last week. It just happened and it could be a life coach, a hypnotist, whatever it might be, to deal with it. It just happened by chance. And I went back to that time and I analyzed it. I knew where I wanted to go. I know that was all there. And I could think in my mind those different places, when I was 3, 5, 7, whatever. But it took me back there and I felt like I was back there and I confronted the child in me then. And I feel a lot different now just from that one situation. So I can't imagine working with a life coach on a very regular basis, how beneficial that could be.
And that's the other part, because I call that healing the inner child. And the most common method, everybody's different, so it takes different methods for different people. But the most common method that I'm able to use that works for people is, now, some people, such as yourself, you remembered your incidents. Lots of people don't. They're repressed. And they're repressed for a reason. Our human body knows how much this soul can handle and how much it can't. So a lot of times the memories are repressed and you don't recall them.
Well, that's where you come in, Kathy. You can help so many people as a spiritual life coach, maybe identify things from their past so that they can deal with them, or even just the emotional, just what we're talking about. It can weigh heavy on you. So give everybody your website and tell them how they can work with you.
My website is Kathy with a K, kathydcarter.com. And you can send me a text message at 214-245-2293. I'd be glad to help you all. Many different things I can do. And I also offer a 20-minute free consultation. So
excellent.
Feel free.
Yeah, so many of us are going through so many different things, and especially what we centered on today in terms of addiction and recovery and why. And it's so interesting that you brought that up, that many people who go through that or are very empathetic and very spiritual. I didn't connect that. And I thought of those people in my life, and they are. And now we know why. They go down a road that they may not have wanted to go down, because it's hard to deal with that when you're connecting with people. Yeah, powerful stuff.
You don't know.
Yeah, appreciate everything today, Kathy, and look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate
Go to
it.
the website. Yeah, she's there to help you out. kathydcarter.com. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you can now listen live on the MyTuner Radio and online Radio Box apps for iOS, Android, and the Amazon App Store. Or check us out online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on onlineradiobox.com/US so you don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.